At this point, I've got to ask myself, am I just being trolled by King Charles? I've had major problems with the Royal Mint, as you may know, and now I've got serious issues with the Royal Mail, who have decided that a £2,500 package of my beautiful hand-poured silver that I've laboured over a week is going to go on a 8 to 10 week holiday in the dangerous goods centre in Northern Ireland. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I hope today to share a little bit of my story such that anyone else out there that sends silver in the post might be able to learn something and hopefully avoid a similar situation. Or at least if you do, then you're in the same company as me. It's ridiculous. Let's moan about the Royal Mail. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and welcome to a ranty ramble about another royal institution, this time the Royal Mail, not the Royal Mint. I haven't forgotten about the Royal Mint, but the Royal Mail have stoked my ire this last couple of weeks. So as you heard in the intro, they have a parcel of mine that's got £2,500 worth of silver in it, and they're taking it to Northern Ireland for 8 to 10 weeks to maybe have a look inside it and then realise that they are incompetent and stupid, and hopefully will then send it off back to me. It's ridiculous, it's stupid. Now, I am going to moan about the Royal Mail in this video, but I don't want this just to be a man shouts at cloud video. That's not going to be entertaining for you. What I do want to do though is highlight some of the issues that I'm experiencing as a person who ships silver, because there are a lot of people in this country and this community that watch this video that will ship silver at some point through the Royal Mail. And it is quite important to kind of learn what's good and bad about this so that you can be forewarned and forearmed with how you can maybe get things resolved, or at least maybe help avoid these awful situations happening in the first place. Lastly, I do want to put a sort of little plea here, because I'm fighting a battle at the moment with the Royal Mail. I am in contact with the CEO's office. A huge thanks to some people on the Silver Forum who've been helping me with that. And I'm embattled with the escalations team to try and get them just to use their bloody common sense. I've been doing this 7.5 years, sending bars up to the assay office and back to me, and none of them are dangerous. Silver's not dangerous. Let's just use some common sense here. Somebody had a bad day at work and it's now potentially costing me 10 weeks worth of productivity and locking up £2,500 worth of my money in my business. And it's almost impossible to run a business these days in the United Kingdom with all of the rules and regulations and stupidity that we have. Anything that makes it harder is just, it makes me think sometimes, well, why bother? What's the point? And that's not where we want to be. So my plea to you is to send this video to the CEO's office at the Royal Mail. If they know that enough people are PO'd with the system and how it works, and I know I'm not the only one, then do let them know. Because this is within the background, remember, of the Royal Mail increasing their prices on special delivery with the enhanced insurance cover up to 73%. That is daylight robbery and an absolute shame and a crime, in my opinion. So against that backdrop, we should get a good service, one that doesn't fall short. Now, first, what I want to tell you is what I found out about why this has happened in the first place, and share with you a little bit of how mail is handled, it seems, in these circumstances. Now, if you're sending something that's going to be very local, if you're sending it just to the next town over through special delivery, this probably won't be an issue because they'll send it over land. And if you are, though, sending it up and down the country, like I would be, from the bottom of the country to Edinburgh, then there's a very good chance, this is why hand-poured silver is great, you can drop it and it's fine. There's a very good chance that it will fly. And therein lies the problem. Now, this has been an ongoing problem, and I've been speaking with a number of different sellers and traders and also individuals out there who've had similar problems in the past, where the wondrous thing called the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, they x-ray and scan everything that goes on the plane. Fair enough. Okay, I get why that has to happen. I get why there has to be a security check in there. They'll see silver as a giant black blob on the x-ray. They won't know what it is. The layman out there might think, oh, okay, it's maybe something metal, but they won't really know what it is. So, what I have been explained by the people in the escalations team at the Royal Mail, and I'll tell you how you get hold of those people in a little while when we go through the video. They told me that basically, when it goes through the sorting centres at the airport, it'll go through its first X-ray. If there's something that they're not sure about, it's put to one side, and then somebody else will come and have another look at it at a given time. That could be the next day, and then they'll make an assessment. They'll have a closer look, basically. And in the case of the parcel that I've got that's going to Northern Ireland for 10 bloody weeks, somebody went, yeah, I don't know what this is, let's just send it for the dangerous goods team to open. That's essentially what has happened. There's no common sense being applied here. There's no... I've sent so many parcels, and I've sent off to the Royal Mail a list of all the tracking numbers of the last sort of 4 or 5 months that I've been sending this kind of stuff to and from the Edinburgh Assay Office without issue. I say without issue. A lot of the time it is delayed by that one day, like I say. So it will go through the X-ray, and people who are reading those results will go, well, I don't know what it is, let's put it to one side. And somebody else will come along and go, yeah, actually that's fine. That didn't happen on my parcel when it went through. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's somebody having a really bad day, either that or they're just not very well trained at their job. And I think that's awful. It lets people down. And the fact as well that the whole dangerous goods system is backed up for 8 to 10 weeks, they tell me, is compoundingly stupid, because I can't make a claim for this until they've gone through that process. What if they make a mistake and they just chuck the parcel? If they think, no, actually, do you know what? We're not even going to open it. We think it's too dangerous to even open. So we're just going to chuck it. I'd be left out in the cold with no insurance. No insurance. I paid good money to have the insurance on this parcel, and there is a small chance that it will just be chucked away. I hope that won't happen, and I hope that common sense will prevail and somebody will actually go, yeah, do you know what? We've made a boo-boo there. We should probably just pick it up and actually do our job. But alas, unfortunately, that seems to be lacking at the moment with the Royal Mail. So what can we learn as stackers? So I've had a number of parcels that have had this happen where we've been delayed a day. I think that is unfortunately unavoidable. If you've got a big chunky silver bar like this, no matter how you pack it, it's going to come up on their scanner as just a big lump of silver like this, big black lump. There's nothing you can do about it. My only thought could be that if I'm sending a bunch of 100-gram bars like this, if they're all stacked up in a little box, I usually send them in business card boxes, and I've got them all compacted like this so they don't move around basically. You don't want your silver rummaging around, so they'd be like that. On an X-ray, this is going to look like a big solid lump. So my theory is if I pack them over one singular layer like this, they might actually be a little better identified, and you can also see the gaps in between the bars a lot easier. So that's my working theory. I've sent one package last week, but with the bank holidays I won't know if that's been successful in this kind of format, but it's something to think about if you are in the precious metal sending game. Now, what I would say is that the special delivery guarantee is somewhat infallible in that sense. If it's not delivered the next day because of this, you can claim and get the postage back. And I have been doing so and getting a nice bunch of free postage when they mess up. But quite frankly, whilst it's nice to have a bit of free postage here and there and save me a bit of money, I don't really want it or need it. I'd much rather not have the stresses of this kind of situation happening. The amount of time and energy and stress that it's caused me it's probably more than it should, to be honest. But when it's your livelihood and when you take pride in what you do, as I very much do with my poured silver, and I put a lot of work into them, making them look as good as they can, getting them to the assay office, which by the letter of the law for just a bullion bar we don't have to do, but I do it because it's much better to have a hallmarked piece of silver than a unhallmarked piece of silver for customers. It's safer for everyone. There's no doubting anything at all. And it's that extra step that we go that sets us apart from a lot of other producers out there. I get why other people now don't do it, because they don't want to have to deal with all of this crap that the Royal Mail will put on them, perhaps. But I think it's important, and following all the rules, I'm doing everything right. And so for some other system to let me down on that front is really, really abysmally awful. Now, the partially good news is that because I'm making a lot of this silver in advance for later in the year, I'm trying to get all of my production on our core products, the annual releases of our BYB bars and the 100-gram silver foreign bars, 1 ounce as well, 5 ounce and 3 ounce and 1 ounce rounds. I'm trying to get that all done ahead of time. So I can actually just chill and not have all of this stress. The good news is none of those pieces are actively sold right now, and if they do go missing and get lost, I'm not going to be destitute from losing £2,500, but at the same time, I'm going to be bloody well pissed off if the Royal Mail does do that. So it's just one of those really frustrating things. And now I want to give, if you've watched to this point, if you're in this situation, and there was a situation actually with a seller, when I bought these Valcambi bars, we had a similar thing. It went AWOL for like 3 days, and I was going through the exact same time that this one was going to Northern Ireland, getting lost in the post, and I was trying to explain to the sender, because I was the buyer, and I paid half up front. He was a reputable seller on the Silver Forum, but I paid half up front, and he was very good about it, offering to refund immediately. And but we will just wait and see where it's going to go first, and then we'll work it out. So my advice, basically, if that happens to you, if you're sending silver and something like that happens to you, you want to keep an eye on your tracking first of all. So make sure that that tracking is going through the system and catch it early, because I do genuinely think that the stupidity and ineptitude of some of the Royal Mail's sorting centres and staff within those sorting centres, I don't want to say everyone, because there are some good people who work at the Royal Mail, but there are also people who are just jobsworths and don't know how to do their job, as can be demonstrated by my parcel. So if that happens and you start to see something a bit funny with your tracking, get on it straight away. Ring the Royal Mail's customer service line. What you want to do, it's going to take a while to get through. It takes like an hour to get through sometimes, maybe a little less if you call first thing in the morning. But you want to get through to them, and you want to say immediately to the person that answers the phone, I would like to escalate this. I'd like to get the escalations team to look into it, please. If they say no, push back on them, say, no, actually it's fine. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I have the right to escalate this, because you do. You don't have to just sit there and listen to what the customer service agent on the end of the phone says, because they can pretty much only see what you can. I think they can see just a smidge more information based on the tracking from their side, but they can't see anything extra. The escalations team can often see a little bit more, and if there is a situation like this, perhaps they can intervene. And I have had parcels where we've had flash up. I shared a community post of it the other day, actually. I've had situations where it's flashed up as prohibited and dangerous goods, and I've made an escalation immediately, and then the next day it goes through just fine, and it gets to its destination. So I genuinely do think that sometimes escalating this and getting that really moved forward fast does help, and that's really, really important. So don't take no for an answer when you get through to the Royal Mail's customer service. Tell them that you want to escalate, and make sure that they do, and they'll give you a reference number starting with 1-, and then they should theoretically call you back within 24 hours. And this is a sign of the times, because it used to be a guaranteed phone call back to you within 4 hours. So when I first reported this one that was missing a few weeks ago, and they didn't call me on the same day, I rang first thing in the morning, I was a little bit like, hang on, hey? And I called them back the next day, and they said, no, our SLA has changed to 24 hours now, not 4. Sign of the times. I think they've got a lot of problems at the Royal Mail right now. So again, with the backdrop of all the Royal Mail special delivery prices going up, and especially in that higher insurance bracket category, you know, I think it needs to. We need to just push back on them and say, look, if you're going to put your prices up by 70%, then get your guarantee in order. Make sure you get this stuff to the destination. If it's a training related question, get it sorted. For those watching to the end, this is the most hilarious bit, right? And I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions on this. If you're a true backyard bullion rambler or in the cool kids club, you'll comment on this. The people at the Royal Mail told me that to avoid this potential situation, which remember is the first parcel out of probably a good 500 that's been sent to and from the Royal Mint, not the Royal Mint, the assay office, they said to me that I need to contact the assay office, who are account managed by the Royal Mail, to get the assay office to liaise with their account manager to work out what's happening and why it's getting a problem. I'm sorry, what? You want me to engage with a third-party organisation to get them on their own time, at their own cost, to liaise with the Royal Mail's account manager to find out what the problem is, and let's be quite frank, the account manager's probably not going to be able to solve these kind of problems or investigate it, certainly not in a timely manner. And indeed, when I spoke with the assay office, they said that their account manager was next to useless, because they've asked this question already a number of times over the last year and not had any movement or reply on the subject. So I think that says it all. So I'm hoping that common sense will prevail at some point next week. But at the same time, the inner pessimist in me, certainly when dealing with the Royal Mail, is going to probably have an 8 to 10 week wait now for their incalculable idiocy. I can't even speak now. It's that infuriating. You get my point. I'm going to have to wait 8 to 10 weeks for my £2,500 to be back in my hands and to be able to actually run my business properly. It's just awful. Not to mention the over a week's worth of work that I've put into making the bars that are currently lost in transit. It's awful. Look, I want to say another thank you to any of you out there that have sent this email over to the Royal Mail. It helps. Even if just one of you have done it, it helps. It really does. I have no recourse really but trial by social media to call them out publicly and have this video up as something that might show up in a Google search result. If anyone else gets this same problem, part of the problem is there's no literature on it. There's nothing out there to help somebody else. So if somebody else within the Silver world has this same problem and they hear this video, they see my post on the Silver forum, that's a job well done for me, and it gives hopefully some context and some help for those that can't fathom how stupid the Royal Mail is. It needs to be better. And a lot of people say, why don't you just use a different service? It's 16th minute of the video, hardly anyone will be watching now, but you can't send precious metals in a lot of these courier services. They have it as a prohibited item, and if they find it and they identify it as precious metal, they can just chuck it in the bin. And that's not something you want. And a lot of the time, if they do allow it, it's uninsured, and you have to get prior permission from some of these companies. And if you are going to have it in the network that is allowed by a particular company, it's not insured, so you have to have private third-party insurance. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, that's my rant and ramble over. I'm sorry again for another rant, but it is what it is, and I hope that we can share some knowledge on this situation. So if anybody works for the Royal Mail, help me please. If anybody is in a similar situation, let me know. Otherwise, that's it from me. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.